I'm so happy to have Mallika Taneja with us. Hi, welcome, Mallika.
Hi, thank you very
Mallika doesn't need a big, long introduction, and especially after ITFOK. I know every other person whom I met in ITFOK, everyone was asking, do you know this song?
much. No, I'm incredibly over. They had it folk, and I've used the word gobsmacked a few times because I think I am a bit gobsmacked. Um, I This kind of outpour of love and appreciation is I don't know. It's I'm all I can say is that I'm incredibly grateful for it, that I had this experience and that I so much love was given my way for so many days. I mean, on the days of the shows, for the 2 days that I was there after that, still over messages or stories that people shared on Instagram. So yeah, thank you very much.
So nice. I had one act. She's an actor and a professor. She was sitting right opposite to me. So I was taking her snaps as in how she's responding to your. And she's like very expressive in her. So she was like and for all of us, the music is still humming in our.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I have to say that I absolutely could not have done this music without the support and the work of Bindu Malini as well as Chayan Adhikari. I am not the musician, actually. They are. I just had the desire to sing, and they are the ones who molded this desire into something palatable for an audience, so that the tunes can remain in people's minds for long. So I also, through this piece, have had incredibly valuable and productive collaborations, which also I'm incredibly grateful for. Actually, there's a lot I'm just grateful for through this piece, during the making of this piece, when I perform this piece. Um, it's different from the work that I've done before. It's a different response to me. It's a different response to, it's a different proposal to the audience also. And yeah, it's been quite rewarding.
So in general, is it the? I know you might have attended it folk earlier as well, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
actually 2 times. The very first time I came to ITFOK was as part of I was acting in the play of Neil Chaudhary and Anirudh Nair called The Winter's Tale. This was 10 years ago. And that time I was just an actor in an ensemble play. And that time it was all new. We had done it outside. Uh, I remember I turned 30 at ITFOK during doing shows. And now also it was really quite close to me turning 40. Also almost at ITFOK. So I guess ITFOK is a milestone in my life of some sort. That was the very first time that I came to ITFOK. The second time I came as an independent artist was in 2016 in the curation of Shankar Venkateshwaran with Thoda Dhyan Se. And he had Body Politic was the theme of that curation, and he had started the festival with Sharira, and the festival had ended with my piece Thoda Dhyan Se, which was a difficult piece to present in a public festival like this. And the entire festival had ended with the performance of Thoda Dhyan Se. So there was no artist talk or anything like that. That performance happened, the festival finished. That's it. Everybody went home after that. And the response to that, of course, I wasn't around to understand the response to that because everybody just went home. There was no, I mean, that's how it was designed also, and very well designed, I think. That time I was not around to kind of understand its impact, but I understood it largely via responses in press, responses on social media, um, But this time was different. This is then my third time. This time I was there, uh, and I met the people who watched my work, who enjoyed my work. I spoke to them, they spoke to me. Many people shared a lot of things with me, and it's special always to be able to be around, um, to actually see in people's eyes that what you wanted to say meant something to them.
So for ITFOK, I think it's not just the people who are looking for some political or so the audience is also different, right? Like definitely people will not spare me if I don't ask about Thoda Dhyan Se. Is the play still being enacted?
Yes, it's 10 years since the play is being performed. It kind of entered into its 11th now. It completed 10 years in November last year. It's performed lesser, but it's still performed. I did shows in Delhi in September last year. Then in October, I was in Norway. This year, I have shows in France, and I'm also looking to do shows in Delhi again, in different cities again. It has become slightly more tougher, if it wasn't tough already, to do this show. But I believe that every time I have looked for space for Thoda Dhyan Se, I have found it. And I will continue to find it. And as long as we can, we will hold on to that space.
Which also speaks that there is a need for presenting this show still.
Well, unfortunately, I don't see the need dying till I am alive. Doesn't mean that I'm going to, because it's a piece that is about being careful. This piece, not only is there a need, it gathers newer and newer and new relevances in the last 10 years. It has become urgent in ways that I could not have imagined when it was first made, because it was made in the wake of 2012. But so much has happened in this country, in this world since then, that the words "be careful, thoda dhyan se" mean so many more things to people. And we know that it's going to take a lot longer for this tide to turn. So as long as the words "be careful" resonate with an audience, this show will be on. And I think it's going to unfortunately resonate for a very, very long time. The need to be careful, or the advice to be careful, is going to be around for a very, very long time, unfortunately. Perhaps it's a fortunate thing for the longevity of the show, but I wonder, what is preferable, that the need dies and the show dies, or the need is there and the show continues? Does it have to be like this? Does it have to be like this? Does it always have to be like this when it comes to what we understand directly as political work, relevance of it?
So to add to the body politics, things have changed in the entire political scenario in India, especially. So, how have you been, as a artist, adding to your play to the to this Thoda Dhyan Se could be, apart from body politics, it could expand to many other dimensions. So
The thing about Thoda Dhyan Se is that very often I don't have to do very much to add to it. Contexts around us are often so loud. I found myself, like, there's this section in Thoda Dhyan Se where I say we have running shoes because one day we will have to run, because they will come behind us and we will have to run. I don't think I need to elaborate how many different contexts this having to run applies to, because it is way beyond my experience as a cishet woman in a city. This need to have running shoes that don't let you down when you have to run, not that if you have to run, it is when you have to run, because they will come behind you, and those are the lines. Suddenly I found myself in October performing in the wake of of a genocide that none of us could have imagined, the one unfolding in Palestine right now. And you know, you don't have to say, oh, see, this is what I meant, or oh, I didn't mean this. It just resonates in different ways. And this has actually been the case with Thoda Dhyan Se for a very long time, that I could not have crafted this phenomena that it means something to people who are of very many different kinds of life experiences than mine. This was surprising to me when I started to discover it. And it continues to happen like this. And then I think my work is to preserve this quality and to add to this quality, to understand this quality, to build this quality. What is it about this piece that is letting other people step into it? I don't know if I know it entirely. I also know that there is a whole lot of people who don't have access to the show because of the artistic choices of it. Perhaps there are a whole lot of people who don't feel involved with it and represented by it. But I anyway don't ever claim, nor do I believe that any one show can represent all and sundry. It never does, and it will never. And certainly my body is simply not enough. But the fact that it can go beyond me, this I know. And if I don't understand exactly what it is that I should do, at least I think I've understood what is it that I should not do. So I try and be alive to this, and I try and be aware of it, and carry on, mistakes and falterings notwithstanding.
See, it's very easy for an artist to to stay blind to what is happening around, and live in the comforts of artists are being given, especially when you are known in the society. But on the contrary, you have taken this as in to respond back to and to give awareness at the stake of your own existence, to say that way. So, how important is it for an artist? Yeah, of course, it's like a choice of a person, but then how important is it for an artist to do these things for the to appreciate what has to happen for the society, what should happen for the next generation?
For an artist, I don't know. For me, very important, because I feel like I think people make varying choices for varying reasons. Those are not my choices and not my reasons. So I have grown to learn that there seems to be space for a lot in this world, good and bad. And that's that. There seems to be space for what I have to say in this world. My work is to understand what to do with that space, how to mold that, and what to say to audiences who come to see me. And I ask this question very actively to myself, that if there is an audience coming to see me, why should they listen to what I have to say? What is it about that, what I have to say, that it matters to them also? And this question is, I think, equally important when you're doing recognizably political stuff, such as Thoda Dhyan Se, and slightly indirect political stuff, like Do You Know This Song? Because I know that Do You Know This Song is not recognized as political work, to which I always have to say, don't you think that getting a room full of people to sing together is a political act? And these questions have to be asked. Just because I have something to say, is it important to the person who has to listen to it? This is not a therapy session, it's not a speech, it's theater. So what kind of a space am I inviting people into, and why should they listen to it? And I think this is central to um, uh, my enterprise, no matter what I'm doing. Not just mine, I would say that most artists who are actively thinking and are aware of their existence and privilege and opportunity in this world ask this question repeatedly, and they repeatedly return to this question. And if you are asking this question, then I suppose you immediately turn your eye around also and say, what is happening? Where am I located? What is my context? What is happening outside? What is the shared space between me and my audience? It's society, it's politics, it's economics, it's the world outside. And how do I resonate with that? So I would say that it's really important for me to be responding to the context that we are in. For me, it is particularly important to respond to the context that I live in, which is this country. Sometimes quite specifically to my city, and be aware of the location from which I make.
One aspect to it is like when I have been thinking about, especially for performances, as in people who come for this play are people who have solidarity on this subject and on this context. And so, how does it, get spread to people to whom it is actually you are addressing these issues to?
Thoda dhyan se. No, I mean, look, this I think is somewhat the crisis of political work in this country, or politics for that matter, right now in this country. That those we wish to be speaking to, we absolutely are not speaking to. In fact, now what has happened is that we are speaking against each other only. More and more that is happening. With Thoda Dhyan Se, I would say that because of the way the piece is, it challenges our kind also. Like, I suppose you are saying that what is the point of preaching to the choir? No. I mean, I let me articulate it in this sort of like manner. I know you did not say it. I suppose the question really is, what's the point of preaching to the choir? And here I would say that, but we are assuming there is a choir. What makes us assume that everybody who comes to watch Thoda Dhyan Se is not challenged by the piece? And this I can definitely say, that audiences are challenged by this piece. They are challenged by the nudity, they are challenged by the silence, they are overwhelmed by the text of it, and I think they go back with a question in their heart. So one is that it has relevance to people who are coming to watch it. So they're not coming even for whatever curiosity, people are coming to watch the piece. Now, how to reach the man with such a piece? Tough. But I do know that people do know that this piece exists, that it does happen in this country. And it is written about, and it is spoken about. It is talked about. Those who haven't watched it have heard about it. Those who have watched it have told other people. No matter whether you like it or not, disagree or agree, this is not the point. The point is that I think people are aware that this is there. And I think that's not a small thing. It's not a small thing for people to know that this is happening. I suppose that's it. Do they need to come and watch the play for them to understand the message? Perhaps not. Perhaps not, Perhaps it's better for some risk taking within the theater, that it remains small, it remains a bit underground, and yet it is known that it's happening somewhat.
conducting a play, having a set of audience, say like 300, 500 people to watch it, and then at the same time today there are kind of Instagram reels and shorts and YouTube shorts and many other things which circulate among the common man, as in which spans for like 90 seconds or whatsoever, so which communicates. So have you ever thought like a play which has a lot of effort, lot, as you said, lot of coordination, and get people, as in everyone's time is very, and if you conduct a, how people respond to, not for your play, people, you definitely come for your play, but is there a social media will help that to get communicated to more larger crowd?
So we made a digital play called Allegedly during COVID. And we made it because it was the only form that we could practice at that time, because we all couldn't meet. And we were surprised by how many people we could reach that we couldn't reach when we get into a venue in a city, etc. And that was very telling about the reach of screen. And yet, it was a very big question for me, like, how do I hold on to theater in this? And of course, theater is my training. So I made as theater. And the other thing that we absolutely and completely insisted on every time was to log in live and perform the entire piece afresh. So we never played a recording. So it was always live. And what does it change? There was a question, how does it really change? And I think there was two things. One is that no two shows were the same. Therefore, every show there was a different internet problem, different voice problem. Every actor was different. It was all different. Every time it was different. So in some senses, while we did record the show, the experience of two shows was never the same. And this was incredibly important to us. And the second thing was that we know that we are live, and that changes everything. The actors knew that we are here alive and we are coordinating something, and our body has to be present. And even via a screen, I am sure this changes the relationship of actor to an audience, even though we couldn't look into their eyes, which was such a big loss, because I think theater is all about being able to look at people, and let people look at you. This was a different kind of looking, but the access was enormous. And the fact that we were able to do this, it gave so many of us work at a time that none of us had work. And it gave us something to hold on to during very, very, very dark days of COVID. We did like 15, 16 shows. We performed the play repeatedly, no more than 15, 16 shows. We performed the play repeatedly, like for over 1.5 years. And that was very, very, very rewarding. So social media, I'm generally not very good at. I use social media to inform people about my work. I don't think of doing theater on social media because I'd much rather just do theater. That is the form, that's the form. That is its, these are its parameters. We may not like them, but I like them. I think it's great. And I also have to say that there is a crisis of audience in the theater, especially after COVID. There always was, and after COVID, there is even a larger crisis. And even we have to work very hard to make sure, where social media plays a very big role. Except that if you don't buy advertisement on social media, often your posts for tickets and all don't really reach properly people, but whatever. I mean, we make the best of it as much as we can. But we have to work very, very hard to get audiences into the theater. But when they do come, because audiences, it's there. Somewhere there is an audience, Now it's our job to understand how to get to them and how to get them into the theater. Because when they do come, and when the magic of theater does happen, I'm sure everyone goes back like feeling, oh, thank God, this happened. That they came, and hopefully, if we have been able to speak to them, that they also came. Because something happens.
Very true. I had this question, in fact, like nearly 2 years. It was very, especially for performing artists and in talking in general, because I had a conversation with Kannan, Unni, and Priyanka, who were like NST, in the context of they had acted in a movie, and how life would have been for people, performers, especially theater performers, during those times where people themselves were not able to move out of their houses and then stages were not, but you
Yeah,
already have answered that question. And another
yeah.
thing about this play, about this song, was the differences, like updates, play after play, happening, like though there is a structure, how were that different, like one play to the other?
Uh, well, this has such a heavy participation of audiences that, of course, every show is so different from the other, because I can't predict what the audience is going to do. Like the very first show in Trichur, I remember audiences were quite friendly. They were talking back to me in a way that I wasn't totally prepared for. And I had to figure very quickly how to handle this, what to do, what to say, how cheeky can I be, how polite do I have to be. This is on every time I have to work this out there, and then sometimes I make mistakes. um every time it depends, how they sing is different, how how strongly they participate uh, is different. What that does to me is different. Sometimes I forget dialogue, sometimes I mix things up. My singing is different every time. I would say every show is very different. And like from June 2023, when we opened to public in New Delhi, before that, in April, when we opened to public in Attapadi at Sahende Theatre, I mean, the show has transformed, completely transformed to what you watched right now in ITFOK. Uh, it has completely shape shifted and become like a full creature, you know, because we needed shows to be able to build so much of the audience participation. We needed audiences to be able to build on this. So, yeah, that's the joy of theater, no? Like, you can never say that two shows are the same. And that's the excitement of it. That's the joy of it. That's the beauty of it.
How did that song evolve? Like, you're thankful to Bindu, and so how did that happen?
Sojar is actually my composition. Um, and I don't know what to say. It arrived one day. The song arrived, uh, honestly, because I was trying to reach out a hand to a friend of mine who had gone through deep, deep loss. And I myself, the process of making this piece was difficult. It was full of all sorts of grief and sadness, and for various reasons. And I think this song was just a culmination of it all. It arrived 1 week before opening our shows in New Delhi. So when we were at Sayande, Sojare did not exist. Bindu's biggest contribution to this, actually, biggest is a terrible way to say it. One is, of course, my voice uh, came out of my body thanks to the spaces that she created. And when I sent my initial, on harmonium, or when I was making and thinking, I sent those things to her. And she on a call said to me, "I'm blown away by your music." And I thought to myself, what Bindu Malini is saying to me? I am blown away by your music. I have music? Really? My music? There is something called my music. I think the validation that she gave, and she wasn't giving me validation. Bindu was simply responding, I think. But what that did for me, even Sojare, I remember we were driving to rehearsal. She had come here. We were driving to rehearsal and I said, I will share one song with you. And I shared it. And it's only when she said, and Gudiya, the word Gudiya is her contribution. It was a different word. It was Shehzada, Mere Pyare, something like that. But Gudiya is her contribution. So, Jare Gudiya. When she said it's beautiful, I thought, okay, maybe it actually is beautiful. I mean, I thought it is kind of nice, but if she's saying it, sometimes it really needs somebody from the outside to tell you that you're okay, you're fine, you look okay, you sound okay, what you're doing is important. Actually, so many times audiences do that for you, na? The audiences only come and tell you that, okay, you're fine, keep doing. If audiences tell you that, are you, then you have to listen, no? You know, those are it's your verdict. That's why I to Keshavan, I was telling that, you know, at ITFOK, I feel I've passed some sort of litmus test. I think Bindu Malini's generosity, her listening, her ability to respond to my proposition with the kind of openness that she has been precious. And Chayan's ability to mold this into design. Yeah, takes a village.
Coming back to ITFOK, which are the other plays? I met you. I mean, I saw you at Papor.
Yeah.
In fact, I couldn't talk to you. I came a little late. Which other place you liked?
Actually, I watched very little, and since you bring up Papi Sorai, I loved it. I really enjoy theater that plays, that keeps alive and really makes a dash for its magic. And I think Papi Sorai does this. It's personal choices, I think. The actors are great. Um, I don't understand Malayalam, but finally I just stopped reading the subtitle, you know, because there was so much to enjoy uh, in the piece. Somebody was telling me before that first they used to do the piece, now because the actress is pregnant, they shifted the piece a little bit. Then while I was watching the piece, I was thinking, okay, then will they also do the piece when their baby arrives? You know, will the baby also find itself on stage? I like when life is happening and theater is happening with it. Surabhi theater is a great example of this. No, life and theater, there's no separation. You know, I enjoy this very much. I particularly enjoy it in this environment where we have such a push at professionalizing, at arts management, sustainability, and all of that. Something as simple as this happens, you know, and it's very joyful to watch. So I really, really did enjoy Papi Sorai.
The next day, I went there. I mean, I saw both these artists were walking lonely. I know both of them walking because they're couples. So I followed them and I went to the stage and I asked whether we can have a just a chat. So then I came to know that the play was written for them only, as in when they started living together, when they decided to live together. So that was kind of a celebration. How yeah.
Wow.
ಲೇಲೇರಿ ದಿಗ್ಗು ಬಿಸ ಪತನಯ್ಯ ಪಾಪಿ ಸೋರ ತಂಗ ಪಾಪಿ ಸೋರ ಲಾ 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 ಲೇ ಲಾ 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 ಲೇ ಲಾ 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 ಲೇ.
Yeah. I mean, there's something deeply personal about it, which you can see. And it's also deeply romantic, you know, in a really sort of, I mean, you know, I am all for romance, you know. And I loved watching it, I loved, presenting joy, placing joy on stage, I think is really important. It's really, really important. We don't always have to be fighting. I think there's place for everything. And I think in a festival especially, there must be space in which pockets of joy are also created.
Very true. So, having said that, especially a theater festival like this, where there are a lot of things that could go wrong, but then things are in control. Well, people are satisfied. People are, so. You have any experiences to talk about?
Folk, should be a case study, I think. And I mean this in all seriousness. I have lots of friends around the world who have performed at ITFOK or who have come to ITFOK. A whole bunch of us in theatre in India also speak about it. The way audiences come to ITFOK, the way audiences watch at ITFOK, the way they accept or reject at ITFOK is unparalleled. It's unparalleled. Why and how do people land up at 9:30 in the morning and queue up and watch plays? I mean, only at ITFOK. Only at ITFOK will this happen. Nowhere else in the world. And I've seen lots of festivals around the world, and I'm telling you, nowhere else in the world will this happen. It is the most beautifully organized chaos that we find ourselves in, because it is also quite chaotic in how it happens. There's a lot happens. A lot of it happens all together in a short period of time. It's intense. But somehow it just happens, it's somehow only. Somehow suddenly that guy will be on that catwalk changing a light. Somehow suddenly something would have arrived. Somehow. There's no logic to it. There must be a logic to it, but I don't think we can necessarily see it. And 7 days of lots and 7, 8, how many days of lots and lots of shows unfold. Everything goes houseful, and people drink also, people eat also, people watch also, and it's truly a celebration. It's really wild, So I love coming to ITFOK. I really enjoy it. And I think the fact that there's a beer parlor right next to it really helps the spirits on many, many occasions. And having food right there. I mean, these things really matter. You have somewhere to go and sit when you have space to have a coffee close by, when you're between plays. Yeah, it's wild and fun.
I was waiting for one of my friends to come, and then Sajida ji was passing, and then she said, "Have you met Mallika?" Then I said, "No, I couldn't meet." Then go, she's there, catch her, do the interview. So I was so thankful to her that I could meet, because otherwise there is no other way in which I can come to you and say many thanks to Sajida. So how is your relation with her?
I think Sajida, what can I say? Sajida is a beautiful, strong, gorgeous person. She is such an important figure of our times. She is a beautiful actress, and a really incredibly powerful voice. The work they have done with the Women in Cinema Collective, it's incredible. Everything that she stands for, she's vocal, political, and she's unflinching in what she believes in. And it's at ITFOK I realized how many people are touched by her work, by her person, by her, by who she is, and how much she means. to the world around us. And I am privileged to know her, to be able to share some times with her that I have been able to. This time I wasn't able to too much, and I'm sad about that. Yeah. And she's an incredibly kind and loving person, which sometimes in the theater can be difficult and rare, but in her case, it's not. You know, people can be very easily envious and jealous of younger people. Maybe not just in the theater, maybe in everything. But that is not the case with Sajita.
This may not be that pleasant a question, but I heard that as a young child you used to play harmonium, have fond memories of your mother singing and things like that. So there will be moments like that when you recall those days, like when you want to think about your mom. So
actually, I have to say that because I was quite a bratty child, the memories that I am absolutely not let to forget is all my antics as a child. So this playing the harmonium and making people sit and listen to my poems and my songs and all of that, like subjecting my family to the experiments that were underway. They really were subjected to it. And that time it wasn't crafted like this and all of that. It was just like they had no choice. It's all fond memories. I think as we grow older, we understand things. And a lot of our anger, disappointment, sadness, if we do process it, and I think this piece has been vital in processing so much of mine, I think we learn to see things like slightly from far away. So we start to see the whole, all the picture, and not just that little thing that we are so tinily focused on. We start to understand things as perhaps systemic things and not so deeply individual things. We start recognizing, I'm also at an age where a whole lot of us are recognizing our parents as people and not just as parents. It's freeing. It's freeing to be able to see them as people, faulted people, people with good and bad, people like us. You are at an age where you think that, oh, this is how I am when I'm 30 or 35 or 40. Okay, they were also that much only, and they already had me. And then I was like this. So you start understanding. I think this is very calming and very freeing. I think letting go of anger is freeing, processing grief is freeing. It allows you to step into newer things. It allows you to be able to tell more stories, sing newer songs, come upon, more and more lullabies. So, I think I'm okay.
wonderful listening to you. I think we should end singing a couple of lines.
Oh, now this is the third time I'm doing it. Okay. I'm never sure of what scale I pick, but here goes. So jare gudiya re, so jare gudiya re, जा रे सपनों की दुनिया में खो जा रे गुड़िया रे मिल ले तू हर उससे जो तुझसे खोया मिल ले तू हर उससे जो तुझसे खोया खुशियों में मिल जा रे खुशियों में मिल जा रे भूल जा रे मिल जा रे सो जा रे गुड़िया रे।
Thank you so much, Mallika.
Thank you.
Really wonderful. I mean, I made my day, literally.
Thank you very much for talking to me. And I want to say that 200 is a very big, it's not small by any measure. So onward and forward. Thanks a lot for talking.
Hello.